Hello, good morning. It's actually feels like morning, but it's in the afternoon because it's getting colder here in DC. We're heading towards winter, so we're in fall, but heading towards winter. And this video is going to be probably my last video in this house on the Sunday, because I'll be moving next week. Excuse me, drinking coffee. But it's another day. It's October 25th, and I'm still here, still making a video, and you can still see me. And I'm making a ton of videos right now. I've been making videos since August, so each and every single day I've been uploading. The main goal of me uploading is not to get famous or get popular, be an influencer. It's just to put my ideas out there, and hopefully that one day, if I feel bored, I'm just gonna come back and rewatch my videos, see when I came at night, see when I was in the afternoon, see what I was thinking during that day, when I was in the car, when I was moving to a new house. Like, those experiences oftentimes don't get recorded, but they mean a lot. So it's another day, and I just want to say that today is a very slow day. I submitted my research paper yesterday. Whether it was good or not, I really don't care. Just give what I have. I did try my best. And other than that, I woke up this morning. I went to play soccer. I didn't have service. This is what I like about this is that I didn't have service on my phone, so I had to really follow the signs on my. So I went to GPS and I looked up the street where I am. Then I zoomed in where I was going to the field. Then I look at the numbers. So if it says 14th Street and 14th Street goes past the field, I had to drive to this 14th Street and keep going the same direction. So DC is it's like a random kid was drawing on a paper, then they just did random lines like this. So it's easy to follow. And then when I was coming back home, I got lost 2 times, but I was lost because I was trying to find the best way, the best that I know, like I can remember. So whenever I was driving to the northwest, I was heading northwest towards the capital. So I would turn because I was trying to drive toward the southeast. So I would turn until I found a place that I knew, looked familiar, and I kept going, and it took me like a few minutes to get home. So pretty easy. You cannot get lost in DC. It's a really straightforward place to drive around once you get familiar with it. So that's pretty much it. That's on the updates. Again, today's Sundays, and it's the last Sunday of the month, and that's the last two. Tomorrow's gonna be the last week of the month as we're heading towards Halloween. I think yesterday's event that I was in, the anniversary, when I was making a video, it was like the Halloween party. So I think I just kicked off the Halloween party. I'm gonna just call that as a party. Because I'm moving, I'm not gonna have a party in my house. Usually I have people come to my house, have dinner, food, and I'm not commuting to my family in North Carolina. So that's what I have today. Now, move on to the topic. I've been talking about, yesterday I mentioned about, the poverty and the training, the research people are working on, but I'm still on the same topic of poverty trap. And the last time I talked on these things, I mentioned about the institutions, the quality of the institutions, and there is no measurement for the quality of institutions. Like, everybody has an opinion on what institutions should be. Like, we all have the idea on what the institutions should do. And when I say institutions, I mean it can be private companies like in USA, Amazon, Google, Facebook. Those are institutions. Like, they are pretty large. Like, they have many employees, they have a large GDP per capita, they have investments, they have assets, they own the land, they control a chunk of assets. Like one company like Google is probably much richer than like 3-4 countries in Africa. So these are institutions. Institutions can be universities. Universities have people, humans. They have leadership. They have the team, the board members, right? These institutions means they play a huge role in our daily lives. They control how we live. Hospitals are institutions, the government, justice systems, right? So the quality of the institution is determines how success we can be, determines if people are going to be trapped in poverty or get out of poverty. In a country like China, for example, we see the institution is putting their straps or putting up. Like if you go look at China, for example, if you're buying something from Guangzhou, it's going to be the Guangzhou has its own administrative, has its own system, like very developed. When you look at Wuhan, super developed. When you look at each area, similar with the United States, we have big federal government, but we also have the small governments like states. Then we have cities and we have counties, right? Those jurisdictions, they also have their own rules that they actually implement. They have their own police, right? They have their own school systems. The institutions become high quality and they don't have to be bigger, but the quality is a key. It matters, whereby in areas like in Africa, for example, you say the institution is more, the raw institutions are much weaker, but the bigger ones like the government controls everything. Like the role goes from the above to the bottom. So the government determines, like Kampala, for example, like in Uganda, for example, Uganda, the government determines what happens in Kasese, what happens in a Toro, right? Because there's no much power on the bottom level. The power is only high ups. So we cannot determine the quality of institutions because it's very subjective. Depends on where you are and where you live. So I've been thinking about this for a while, and I'm gonna talk about this for a moment. How do we measure the quality of institutions? Is there like a metric that you can use to measure? And I didn't have an answer because every time I look up on Google, there's all kinds of answers people give out. Like there should be no corruption, or there should be good at allocating funds. They should be doing this and this. There should be no bribing, like ABC. But I realized that the answer is pretty simple. The good quality institution is the one that actually adapts to new things. If an institution is ready to adapt to new technology, new ideas, and recognize that when they fail, they should learn from the lesson and try something new. That is what defines a good institution. And we can forget about the countries. Let's talk about like companies. When a company recognizes that they are failing, right, the strategy they're using is not working, they quickly adapt to new technology, new ideas. That mentality, that ability to adapt, is what makes an institution high quality. And of course, this can be blamed on the administrative or the government, the people in charge. But for the most part, it's the whole system getting ready to adapt. And this goes back to my original points that I mentioned, how we need to increase the agriculture. So if we need to eradicate poverty, we need to ensure that people, if the solution is to have, if the solution is to have some kind of what is it? Some kind of if the solution is to have food supply, there's somebody walking down there, so I was watching them. If the solution is to have a ton of food, feed the people, improve the agriculture field, is to maybe give the farmers farms. There's a bag on my window. If the solution is to have food, for example, in a poor countries where people are trapped in poverty, is give them machines. The key should be those people belong in an institution. Like if you pick, for example, forget about the government of Uganda, forget about the government. Think about people in the specific village in Uganda. Let's pick one village. Let's say Kawempe region. Kawempe region is like one of the small part of Kampala, right? Poor areas in Kampala. I haven't been there before. I had these poor areas like slums. Let's say you want to implement some kind of factories in Kawempe so people can have jobs and work. That area has an institution. People in there have some kind of leadership. There has to be somebody in that area. I don't know who's the leader of Kawempe, just picking a random name. And that leadership needs to be able to adapt to new technology, new things. It doesn't have to be machines, but it can be something like maybe highways, maybe building offices, maybe adapt new schools. Become like in the USA, we have some regions that are specifically targeted by the intellect. Like for example, Massachusetts is known to have the best universities. Like that's their main specialty. China is known to have copycat. Like they copy everything, they produce it cheaper price with cheap labor, right? And they are so good at it. They are good at creating things that are very cheap, poor quality, but they produce it, right? That's their specialty. And the ability to adapt to new things, it's a key that determines if an institution, whether it's a high quality or if it's a very low quality. And the only way to measure the quality of that institution is to see what are the things, are they able to adapt when they fail, right? If they fail, can they say, okay, this isn't working, let's do something else. This isn't not working, let's do something else. That is the best way to adapt. And I can use China as an example. China introduced, they had issues with food, they didn't have food supply, so they had to adapt the two new things. Number one, they implemented a policy. They forced the institutions, like the raw institutions, to report the productivity, right? And there was an incentive to produce high productivity. So the government from lower level, they started lying, corruption, right? They started giving out poor metrics, and the government announced that they have so much food than they need, so they started supplying overseas. It turns out it was a lie. So it turns out that they didn't have enough food actually. So that made China change their policies. They started like holding accountable the people on lower level to make sure that they're reporting good metrics and good numbers. And then they implemented one of the most scariest thing ever, which is one child policy. Ensure that one person has one child, and that was to cap the population and ensure that the people who are currently alive, they can focus on working rather than focusing on producing children. Those two policies, reporting high quality and also ensuring that there is also people are not producing more people to consume, helped China grow pretty fast. So the ability to adapt, the ability to venture into something new is what made China develop. And the same thing with the United States is the ability to do something new. Like now we have AI, people are adapting it, even though they didn't like it. We see poor nations, they don't really have the adaptability. They don't really have the capacity to change the way things are done, whether it's through switching leadership or through trying new things. Some countries are doing so, some are not. But my observation is that to have high quality institutions is to determine how quickly can they adapt. Not just the government, but also the private sector, people, universities, hospitals, and many other institutions in a given country. I'm gonna talk about this topic more in the future, quantify, see the numbers, if it's true, and I will give more updates. But for now, that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching. See you. Bye bye.